A lot has happened rather quickly recently with regard to my writing, but in truth, I've been writing for a long time. And actually, the story that you just heard the summer before was the first story I ever wrote, and the only story that my father, who died in 1995, was ever able to read. I went to him that year and told him that I had decided I wanted to be a writer. And my father said, well, you always used to say you wanted to be a writer when you were a little girl. And at the time I had been floundering unhappily for a few years, so my response to that was, well, why didn't you remind me? So I gave him this story, and of course it was a very early version, and the title was different, and the ending was different, but the heart was still the same. And my father had already been published at this time. In fact, one of his books called Business Cycles and Equilibrium is about to be reissued. And he went through the story and marked it up with proofreader's marks. And these marks looked like hieroglyphics to me. So we had to go through it together with him explaining to me what they meant. And this was an eerily prophetic afternoon because about a year after my father died, I would get a phone call that led to me getting a job as a proofreader for Business Week magazine, which is actually the job that I've held for the last 13 years. But my first introduction to proofreading was through my father. So we went through the story, and it felt very important to be learning this editorial shorthand. And of course, it was wonderful to be working alongside my father, and I was becoming very certain that I was indeed going to be a writer one day. And it was just one of those casual experiences that we have sometimes where we have no idea while it's happening that we're making a memory that we will treasure forever. And it's not as if I ever said to myself, I really am going to be a writer one day, and this will be the only story that my father reads. And I will always remember this day. Because I don't think that we consciously say those things to ourselves. But I think on a certain level, we know. So we finished the story, and my lesson was over. And we got to the last page, and my father had drawn these little open circles in the left-hand margin. And I said, what are those? You didn't teach me the meaning of little open circles in the left margin. And he smiled at me as if he knew something I didn't. And he said, that's where my tears landed. And I asked if I could take the stage for a minute tonight because I wanted to thank Mayor and Peter and Mark and Laura and Jeff and Carlisle and Patricia and Randall, and actually anyone who was involved in tonight in any way. You might have thought that you were just hanging a poster or setting up a chair or ordering wine, but actually you were helping a girl's dream come true. And I simply couldn't be more grateful. Thank you.